Hey there, welcome back to Jillian On Love. Today you are going to listen and watch me speak to a woman who has a difficult relationship history. She has dated men who are in no way emotionally capable of being a good partner. They just, for different reasons, which you will find out, they don't have the capacity. And some of them have actually been worse than that. They've been highly manipulative. But she keeps going back to this particular archetype of a man, and she really wants to understand why and how to break it. So we talk about this. We talk about what draws her to this kind of person. We talk about the red flags that she ignores. And we talk about her relationship with her dad. I think this is going to help a lot of you. So without further ado, here we go. Hi there, welcome.
Hi, thanks so much.
How can I help?
I'm writing in because I choose people who need help. So the last relationship I had, he was borderline personality disorder, and he told me he had done all this work and all this therapy. And then 3 months in, he turned completely controlling, insecure, and jealous. And I want to know what I can look for in the beginning to avoid this mistake again.
So how long were you dating him for?
Okay, so we had previously dated in 2017, very briefly. And we stopped seeing each other. He told me he had some things to work on.
Well, okay, so I'm gonna have you pause. So in 2017, what happened? What did he tell you?
So I had gone back through our texts when we ran into each other again in 2025 and remembered that he had said in text, like, I just have things I need to work on with myself. I don't think we should see each other anymore. And then we ended up seeing each other again in 2017 after that. And then I broke up with him and said, I don't think it's working out. And I thought that he was an overthinker. That's why I broke up with him. And then
you broke up with him because you felt like he was an overthinker.
Yes. Like in his head, constantly in his head.
And that felt like what for you?
Just like someone who would need cheerleading and like constant validation, just like he had said. Like,
was it exhausting?
Yeah, I felt like it was going to be exhausting.
Yeah. Okay. So you broke up. So you stopped seeing him in 2017.
We ran into each other in 2025. And it felt very kismet. And when we went out on our first date, this second time, I went back through our texts. You told me that you had things to work on. Do you remember what those things were? And did you work on them? And he said, yes, I remember exactly what it was. I thought that I liked you more than you liked me. And I needed constant validation, but I've done a lot of therapy and I'm really happy with where I am and I'm secure. And I feel like I've done a lot of work to realize that people show love in different ways. And I feel like we missed an opportunity last time and I don't want to miss it again.
And was there any part of you that was a little suspicious? Having had that experience with him?
No. I mean, he said very quickly that evening, like, I want to date you. And I said, what does that look like for you? And he said, I want to get to know you. I want you to get to know me. And I know that I want to go out with you and only you. And I was like, well, I don't think I can say that in this very moment. I would like to just kind of see how this progresses. So I wasn't like,
so after one date in 2025, he said, I know, I just want to see you.
Yeah.
And did that trigger anything inside of you that was reminiscent of what you experienced of him in 2017?
Yes. I think that there was a part of me that was like, I'm not in that place, but I could understand how if he had done a lot, it's so hard because I feel like when you're older, people always say, when you know, and you know right away, and the guy knows and he tells you, and then you just Yeah, I don't know.
Right. I totally get what you're saying. But then there's also context, which is something seemed very off about him in 2017, that he was an overthinker and needed constant validation. And something told you to trust your instincts then.
Right.
So I'm just pointing out, not to shame, just so you know, I'm just like, I'm digging here because I want you to get savvier at picking up on cues and certain red flags so that you don't get hurt. That's all.
Oh, I totally get it. And I think part of what I came to when we broke up is like, you can trust your old self. Like she knew, obviously. But I think.
So you started dating him.
Yeah. I think in this moment, it felt so kismet that we ran into each other again.
I know that's called the movies. That's the movies. It's had such a profound influence on us. That's like, it's like the movie Serendipity. It's like we think it is kismet as opposed to, I don't know, maybe just a coincidence. But I get it.
You want
I hear
you because it's a cute story.
Yeah, you want it to be. Totally. Yeah. I'm with you.
So I don't know. And he was very convincing that he had done all this work and been in therapy, and he was very open. So it seemed to me like, I'm not totally sure I'm ready to jump that deep in, but so quickly, and I'm going to give it a little time. But it just felt like, this is open communication. This is healthy, mature, open communication that I'm not used to.
So what happened?
So 2.5 months in, basically. So he has 2 children, and I had not met them. And they are older, 14 and 17. And we took a trip back to my hometown and went to a wedding, and he met my family and friends. And then when we got back from that, we were saying goodbye because he was getting his kids. And he said that he was having a really hard time and he was very anxious, and I just needed to be patient with him. And I was like, well, what's the problem? I don't know what the problem is. And he's like, well, we don't know when we're going to see each other. And I was like, we have plans to see each other on Sunday. It was Friday. And that whole weekend, he just spiraled. He was like obsessively calling me, got upset because I went to brunch with a friend and then decided to walk and get a beer after with that same friend.
How did he express his upset, and what was his spiral like? And you said obsessively calling you. Was there violence? Was there any threats of him hurting himself? What was some of the things that he did?
No, not that extreme, but
okay.
Saturday morning, I was driving from my house to my sister's house, and he called, and I said, "Oh, this is perfect timing. I'm driving to my sister's house," and he was like, "Oh, I didn't know you were going to be going straight from one place to your sister's house." And I was like, I was home for a while, but I just decided, why would I be sitting at home when I could be sitting on my sister's porch with her? Just really weird about what I was doing that weekend, even though I wasn't really doing anything. Like I spent the night at my sister's house that night, and we FaceTimed with him for like an hour. And that weekend, when he came over on Sunday, he said that I had stayed out both nights, drinking all night. And, both nights I was home.
Even though you were on a FaceTime with him and your sister for an hour when you were spending time with your sister.
We had a big conversation on Sunday night where he was expressing, that he didn't like what my plans were, and that I basically was so busy. And I said...
But you had just to make sure, you had just seen him Friday for a wedding.
I had just seen him on Friday. We had gotten back from my hometown.
Okay.
He was dropping me off at my house because he was going to go pick up his children, and we were saying goodbye.
And you were saying goodbye, and you had plans that Sunday. And he
had plans the whole weekend. Like I had a plan to see my best friend Friday night.
You had plans with him Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday night.
So so you see him Sunday, 2 days, 48 hours after he dropped you off.
Yeah, correct.
And he's saying that he doesn't like what you did on the weekend.
Yeah, exactly.
This episode is sponsored by Skims. I have been a Skims fan for years. In fact, I am completely obsessed and have each of these bras in all of their colors. The triangle bra and the micro scoop bra. Amazing, among other things. Because I've worn so many sports bras over the years, because I used to work as a yoga teacher, all of them were I found them so incredibly uncomfortable. And they would like just dig into my skin. And I never wanted to wear them. And Skims is literally, and I mean this literally, the first brand where I've been able to get their activewear and wear it and almost feel like I'm wearing nothing, even though I have the support. So shop my favorite bras and underwear at skims.com. And after you place your order, be sure to let them know we sent you. Select podcast in the survey and be sure to select our show in the drop-down menu that follows. And if you're looking for the perfect gift for your Valentine or for yourself, the Skims Valentine shop is now open. Run, don't walk.
The following weekend, we went out of town to visit friends of mine. And I got in trouble that weekend because I was quiet in the car on the drive there. But let's also keep in mind that this was the year anniversary weekend of my father's passing. So I got in trouble for being quiet. And he knew that? Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I got in trouble for being quiet in the car on the way there. I got in trouble for...
When you say you got in trouble, what do you mean? Like, what did he do? How did he punish you?
So we drove up there on a Friday. On Saturday morning, we were laying in bed and he started telling me, I didn't like that you were quiet in the car. I didn't like that you took a work text and you didn't tell me. And I said, well, it was a work emergency. I don't know why I need to tell you. Like, I just was trying to handle it very quickly so I could get off my phone and be present. But it was something I had to deal with. And then I just told him I wanted to split something for lunch. And then I changed my mind and told him, never mind, I didn't want to split anything. You could just get whatever you wanted. And that was disrespectful to him. And so I said, if you thought I was being quiet in the car, I wish that you would just take a moment to consider what this weekend is and what it means and why I could potentially be, being more introspective.
And he said,
then, yeah, you're right. I totally agree. I'm so sorry. I don't know why I was making it about me when obviously it could be anything. And that weekend we had another conversation where I said, I think you're like making problems where there aren't any. And so you need to have like a conversation with yourself, or maybe you need to get back into therapy or like figure out what the issue is, because for me, it's coming across like you're making problems where there aren't any. And he was like, you're right. And then
it would happen again.
Yeah, it happened again. And then we broke up.
You broke up with him?
Well, actually, he broke up with me.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And what did he say?
He said that he wished he was stronger, but he just felt like I ended up meeting his kids, and he wanted me to spend the night, the first night that I met them. And I said that I didn't think that that was appropriate. And I met them on a Wednesday night. I saw them again on a Friday. I saw them again on a Sunday. And then he was out of town on Monday. And on Tuesday night, he came over and told me that he'd never felt so alone after introducing me to his children.
So let me ask you a question. When he was doing these things, accusing you of things, spiraling, punishing you, what did it feel? What did you feel in your body?
Tension and sadness.
Tension and sadness.
Yeah. I mean, I knew, particularly after the weekend we went out of town. And I was confiding in a friend that doesn't live where I live. And I had said to her, I don't think I'm going to be able to get back the feelings that I had for him, because this isn't healthy or right. I told him in the end, because he kept saying, we're just in different places in life. We're in different places in life. And I told him in the end, I said, I showed up and all my actions matched my words. And we're not in different places in life. We're in different places emotionally because you sold me on a relationship that you are unable to sustain emotionally.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, so you felt in your body that this was all wrong. Why didn't you break up with him?
I think and was a mistake, but I think I thought, okay, he's, spiraling, he's having a moment. Maybe if I just meet his kids and he sees me with them, which is, I know logically it doesn't make sense now, but
No,
in
that's
the
okay.
moment,
This isn't about judgment. We want to try to understand, you want to try to understand yourself. There's a spectrum when it comes to abuse. And look, I am not qualified to diagnose this man, and nor is ChatGPT. But there's no question that he needs professional help, and that he needs help in a way that I don't know if he'll ever really be able to get help. I don't know what his relationship history is. But there's no question in my mind that this is someone who exhibits the kind of behavior that could, it's not a guarantee with him, that could go towards violence. And even if it's not physical violence, because it is the same thing as when someone is physically abusive and then they apologize, it'll never happen again, I'll go see my therapist. And then the person on the receiving end is like, who's usually a woman, oh, okay. Or sometimes it's a gay man in a gay relationship, but usually it's a woman. Okay, that will never, if I just try a little bit harder, if I can just prove to him, But all the while, that feeling inside her body, she knows it's wrong. And so I think that, that's not normal behavior inside of a relationship, because it's one thing to be anxious. It's another thing to turn the anxiety into control. And that's where it was headed. And fortunately, he's healthy enough to know that something is wrong, and he got himself out of it. He told himself a bullshit story that you two are just not in the same place. That's not true. But he sounds like he has some understanding that he just can't handle it. The question is, why are you in a relationship with someone ignoring every single blaring red flag? The flags could not have been more red. And that's where we want to, again, you're not alone. You don't have to shame yourself. This is about getting super interested, because you came on this show to understand, you don't want to do this. You started with that you have a habit. So have you been in other relationships with people who have treated you like this, but you think, oh, they'll just get better? Because you said it was a habit. I just want to make sure that this is not something that's happened before.
Oh, yeah. So when his behavior changed, it was reminiscent of a past relationship that I was in my late 20s.
What happened there?
That was much worse. He was an alcoholic. He was definitely verbally abusive. And I was in a situation where I was a little bit isolated. I moved with him. My sister flew there and said, okay, you're coming home. And it never was physical, but it was definitely verbally abusive. And when the first thing happened, and I said to a friend of mine, I don't know if this is like a glaring red flag, but it's definitely something I'm clocking. And I was relieved when he broke up with me, because I thought, this is so much easier. I'd rather him think it's him.
Okay, so that's really interesting to me. This is so much easier. So what was holding you back from breaking up with him? Were you afraid?
No, I wasn't afraid. It just hadn't gotten there yet.
Okay.
But
and we wanted to get there.
To.
Yeah, and we want your tolerance to get much lower for this kind of BS. So that was how old are you now?
46.
You're 46. Okay. So that was in your 20s. So in between your 20s, were you ever married? Do you have kids?
No, I have freedom.
Okay. Yeah. Gotcha.
Yes.
Love it, girl.
Never married,
Love
no
it.
kids, no pets.
Okay. Amazing. So when that abusive relationship ended in your 20s, and this started when you were 40, 46 or 45, what was your relationships like in between,
In the interim?
in that stretch? Yeah, in the interim.
I didn't have a lot of serious relationships in the interim.
How come?
I had one serious relationship that was a friend that turned into a partner. And he also needed help.
What kind of help?
Just very low self-esteem, alcoholic, very loving, but just staying in a safe space. He's choosing to stay in a safe space where he doesn't have to do any work. And
these are things that you knew early on and you felt something was off, but you thought, what did you think? Did you think that your love could transform him? Did you think that you could change him? Did you hope that his loving you would inspire him to change for you? What was it?
Because he had always wanted to be with me and I had always been like, no. And then we got together during COVID. So it was very specific timing.
A very vulnerable time where no one wants to be alone.
Yeah. So I think I just thought, oh, well, I'm a very social person and he's not, and that's okay. Which is silly because that's not what I want. I want a partner who wants to do the social things that I like to do.
What's your relationship like with your father?
Well, he passed away last year.
Oh, that's right. And what was your relationship? First of all, I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
Second of all, what was your relationship like with him growing up?
Very distant. So if you asked him, he would say that we were very close. But I was very, very close with my mom. And she kind of kept us, my sister and I, away from him.
Why?
He cheated on her and she didn't do anything about it, and they stayed together, and then we all ended up going to counseling as a family, and basically our therapist was like, there's the three of you and it's versus him. And he would come to my sporting events and plays and stuff like that, but and he drove me when I moved across the country to move, which is a story he loves to tell. But we weren't very close. I got to spend a lot of time with him before he died, which was lucky. And it was very transformative, and he was very emotive.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, I was lucky. But during life, it's oh gosh, it's been 2 weeks. I got to call my dad. And then I call him and he'd tell me the same stories for 20 minutes. And then we get off the phone. It's he might say, how are you? Maybe.
How much of your perspective of your father growing up was influenced by what your mom thought of him?
Oh, a ton, I'm sure. Yeah, we knew way too much.
Okay, so she would tell you, she would vent to you and your sister about her problems with him.
Yes, but mainly me.
Okay. Were you the oldest? Are you the eldest?
No, I'm 6 years younger.
You're the youngest, okay. And she would tell you about how he cheated on her and, how he's a bad man or...
Well, I actually caught him. This was back when there was AOL chat or whatever. And his office was in our house. And so I went in to ask him a question and saw an AOL chat on his screen. And so I told my sister about it. I had a photographic memory at the time. I told my sister about it. She said, you have to tell Mom.
A chat with him and another woman.
Yes. So
and how old were you when you found that? A teenager? 12?
Yeah, 8th grade maybe.
Okay. All right, so around 12, 13.
Yeah.
No, 14. Probably around 14.
14, yeah.
13,
13 or
14.
14. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
So you
that's right.
found that.
So I told my mom that's when it was revealed that he had had a previous affair when we were very young that
Okay.
she had never addressed.
And do you think that's part of the reason why she vented mostly to you is because you found it?
Good question. I don't know. I think maybe because my sister went to college because she was 6 years older.
Oh, so you were the one who was home.
Yeah. And then they got separated for a year. Part of my junior year, part of my senior year of high school. My sister happened to be living at home, saving money to move at that time for that year. So that she and I became very, very close at that time. And we all went to therapy as a family, and they ended up staying together. And then my mom left him when she was 73 after 50 years of marriage.
Wow. What was your relationship like with your father before you found that? This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. In 2026, rather than trying to completely be a different person or quote unquote fix yourself, think about more of what you can actually let go of what's weighing you down so that you can feel lighter. Because the new year is an opportunity, but you don't have to become a completely different person. In fact, you shouldn't try to just change every bad habit that you have. It's just slowly letting go of the things that you don't need anymore so that you can make space in your mind, in your energy, in your body for things that you do want. Feeling lighter doesn't actually mean doing more. Sometimes it means caring less so that you can do more of the things that actually are meaningful to you. And therapy is a great way to gain an unbiased perspective on your life and can play a key role in leaving behind what's been heavy so you can focus on your future. Sign up and get 10% off at betterhelp.com/onlove. That's betterhelp.com/onlove. Do you have any insight into what really was painful for your father as a man? What burdened him?
Yes, he was abused as a child.
He shared that with you?
Yes.
Physically abused or sexually abused?
Physically.
Okay.
I don't
By
know
his father?
Yes.
Okay. And and he shared that was something that was very hard for him, obviously? Or he wasn't that emotive?
Yeah, he wasn't that emotive, but it was just like when I was young, my dad caught me smoking and burnt my fingers with a cigarette, stuff like that
kind of
where
thing.
you're like,
Yeah.
oh, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So I think he was just kind of stunted emotionally. And I think he was scared.
Well, it's also
mom.
generational. I mean, how old was he when he passed? In his
81.
80s. Yeah, so it's also a very different generation.
100%. Yeah. He's that typical white male, non-emotive. That
I don't know
age.
if it's just white, but it's that age of men. Yeah. It sounds to me like your father loved you very much and did the best that he could. And part of the reason why he keeps telling the story about how he drove you cross country is because, he maybe feels proud of that or really wants to, prove to himself and to you that he does love you. But when we grow up with an emotion, a father who's not that present, and it could be for a lot of different reasons. It could be generational. It could be that he was going through something in his marriage to your mother that felt overwhelming. It could be whatever, his own demons, right? We don't know. He's a human being. We all have our demons. For a young girl in particular, that's a lot because we crave our father's presence. And so sometimes what happens is that when that little girl grows up, she will then date men. If she dates men, which you do, she will then date men who are in their own way, unable to show up for you and to be a real partner for you and to meet your needs. And unconsciously, you will choose these men to try to fix them or to change them so that you can be enough for this man who's aloof because of his own reasons. Because the addict, an addict, someone who is in their disease, in their addiction, not sober, they're an alcoholic, whatever it is, they're addicted to drugs, could never, ever possibly be a good partner to you. No one who is not sober and in their addiction can be in a relationship. No one. And or you have this recent guy who's got, who cannot, for his own reasons, cannot be a good partner, is controlling, is a little unhinged, is manipulative. So a lot of this comes from old pain of not having a closeness to dad. So this you may have to think about for a moment. Who did you have to be, or who did you believe as a child? Because I want you to think about this. Let me preface this by saying, I'm going to ask you to step out of yourself for a moment and to think about you and your childhood very objectively with the wisdom that you have now being a 46-year-old intelligent woman. Who did you have to be as a child, or who did you believe you had to be in order to get your father's attention or love? Like for some people, it's like they have to be quiet and perfect. For some people, they have to be loud and emotive. For some people, they have to be, an all-star athlete. For some people, they have to be really good grades. For some people, they just have to be seen, not heard. What was it for you, for dad? What got rewarded in your that you felt got rewarded as a child?
Sports and humor.
Okay.
I was definitely the peacemaker in our family.
Okay. So you were the peacemaker. You had to be good at sports and you had to be funny. Are you athletic still?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you funny?
I think so.
Do people in your life consider you funny with a good sense of humor?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So
yeah.
I'm just giving you some insight into conditioning. It's not that all conditioning is bad. It's just understanding that like conditioning is like a giant coin. And there's two sides of the coin. It's like, okay, the parent's love that was a little or a lot more scarce, that's the parent with whom we tend to unconsciously wrestle with emotionally throughout our life. And your connection to your father was a lot more scarce than it was than your connection to your mom. So you were the peacemaker in your family. Are you a peacemaker now in your relationships or your work, your friendships?
Yeah, I think people come to me for advice often.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you're comfortable, and please push back on me if I'm saying something that doesn't resonate as true to you.
I will.
But what I'm feeling is that you're comfortable being in the position of people needing you and you being kind of like a grounded force that can make things more peaceful. You're comfortable being in that position. Meaning it's familiar to you.
Yes, it took me a long time. It wasn't until my early 40s that I learned to create boundaries.
Okay. We're going to get to the boundaries in a moment, but I'm trying to give you some insight into why. Because when someone comes to me and says, I don't know why I date people who have like a really big problem, or I have to fix them, or they just like are not where they would need to be emotionally to be in a high functioning relationship with me. And there's only a few possible reasons. One is you're comfortable being the person who's actually more evolved in the relationship. And actually, it gives you some significance to actually be the person who they need. And also there's the wanting to, the thinking that someone can just change and that you can fix them. That's super unconscious. And sometimes that craving for love from dad, even though you made beautiful peace with him before he passed, that old imprint is still in your body. So you're going for people where you would have to like work really hard. I mean, this last one, you're like, well, maybe if I meet his kids, then he'll be convinced. It's like you're over functioning, and you're choosing people, you're dating down. You're choosing people who like are not on your level emotionally at all. And for whatever reasons they have, God bless them, they cannot meet your needs.
100%. Yeah, I agree.
So I'm giving you some insight that this has a lot to do with dad and also has a lot to do with other conditioning, which is that you're kind of comfortable being a peacemaker, making sure everyone's okay. You're comfortable with the fact that people come to you, so that makes you feel needed. And then you kind of date these men who are very insecure, very needy. And there's a part of you that likes being needed in that way, even though you know it's too much, there's something wrong, and all the alarms, that your nervous system and your internal cues, they're all sounding the alarm. There's a part of you that kind of likes being needed. I don't know. Does that resonate as true?
I don't know.
Yeah, you have to think about it.
I mean, it just didn't feel that way in the beginning. I really felt like
No, it never feels that way in the beginning.
Yeah, I really felt like he was such a giver, and I really had chosen so differently, and I was so proud of myself for that.
Yeah, but there were but he was also telling you things, or no, showing you things that would indicate that he's anything but a giver.
Once that started happening, yes, my alarms were going off, and I was thinking, this isn't gonna last.
Yeah, but you didn't do anything about it.
No, I didn't do anything about it right away.
This episode is sponsored by O Positive. O Positive is a women's health company. They offer a range of symptom targeting supplements that support women at every stage of her life, from her first period to well beyond her last. They also have many incredible products, but specifically their Urovaginal Probiotic. It is a probiotic blend specifically formulated to support vaginal health. So it balances flora and pH. And as you know, ladies, a lot of things, sex, tight clothing, sweat from working out, hormones, periods, all of that can disrupt our vaginal health. And Urovaginal Probiotic is a blend of 4 powerful strains backed by research showing these strains support healthy vaginal health. So take proactive care of your health and head to opositive.com/JOL or enter JOL at checkout for 25% off your first purchase. That's opositiv.com/JOL for 25% off. My question to you is, do you believe that you're worthy of the kind of love that you deserve and that you give?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Do you believe it's possible for you?
I do. Yes.
What evidence has happened in your life has happened that makes it so that you do believe it's possible for you?
My other relationships, I feel like my friendships are astounding. My relationship with my mom, my sister, amazing. My brother-in-law, I love. I have a lot of love to give.
Yeah, yeah.
But I want to be met by someone who
I know you have a lot of love to give, but do you believe that you are worthy of receiving that same love?
Yes, I do.
Do you think that possibly there was a time in your life where you didn't really fully believe that?
Maybe. I think that maybe.
I don't want to put, ideas in your head. It's just that sometimes when we choose people who could never actually give us the love that we want, and we stay in the relationships with them, it's because deep down there's a part of us that believes that maybe we're not worthy of it. Your dad didn't show you love. He showed you love in the way that he knew how. But there is a reason why there's a couple of things that happened. Your mom created some sort of triangulation with you and made it so that you were on her side. And you were always hearing her side of the story, and you never heard dad's side of the story in that relationship. And also, you felt safer with mom. You didn't even know if you were going to get your needs met from dad if you were to go to him.
I think that he showed his love, with money, like with things.
Yes. So he did the best he could. This is not about villainizing your dad. We are looking at your childhood very objectively, which is that if you needed an emotional need met, you went to mom, not to dad, right?
Correct.
Because you didn't believe that dad had the capacity to meet that need, correct?
Right.
Yeah. You knew that if you went to mom, you knew unconsciously that if you went to mom with a problem, with some sort of emotion, with some sort of need, mom was going to give it to you. But if you went to dad, you weren't quite so sure.
I think it was set up in a way of like, well, he didn't give that to my mom. So my mom's like, just come to me, just come, I think it was like that was
part of it.
Yeah.
And also you said that he wasn't that present.
No, he just watched a lot of television.
Yeah. But your mother made it so that you came to her more than you went to him.
I think so.
Yeah.
So whether it was conscious for her or not.
Yeah, exactly. No one's to blame here. This is not about anything like that. But I'm trying to have you understand that you were conditioned to believe and to experience your needs not being met by your father. So now you're dating men who could never meet your needs.
So what do you do to get out of it?
Well, you just make a decision. It's kind of beautiful to just have that awareness. So to get out of that so the reason why is that there is a possibility that deep down inside, you don't believe that that's actually possible for you, that you could be in a relationship with a man and actually get your needs met. So it's just kind of, it's like you're replaying old software. So how do you break the pattern? Here's the good news. Your instincts are spot on. You're just not listening to them, like most of the world doesn't listen to their instincts.
Well, I will say I listened much faster this time around.
Which is phenomenal.
Actually.
Yeah, you did. You did.
Yeah.
So you're improving. So now you said, I'm getting better with boundaries. The boundaries have to be with yourself. You have to have a very clear vision of the kind of partner you want. And you have to really be on top of the red flags and not date people with certain red flags. And you have to have an accountability buddy because you've got beautiful friendships. And you need to have, and you've mentioned twice on this call that you called a friend. So you do have friends that you go to for guidance. And you're going to need one of those friends who you trust the most, to be the most objective with you and the strongest with you to keep you accountable. So you can't date any more alcoholics or addicts.
Wait, that's out. Yeah.
That's out.
Yeah.
That's out. And look, I have many friends in the program, and they would all tell me, they would all agree with me. So you can't, it's one thing if someone's been in the program for years and years and years. It's another thing if they have the problem now. You can't date someone who's telling you that they have major problems that they have had to be in therapy for years about. That is not villainizing them. This is about you getting very honest about what your pattern is. And your pattern is to date emotionally unavailable men. And they're emotionally unavailable all for different reasons, and it manifests differently. Can't date any more men who are telling you that they had this big problem that they had to be in therapy for years for. What you need to look for is a stable man. No one's perfect. We all got our problems. We all have our mental health issues. But you need to look for someone who has a relationship history where they've been able to commit, where they are present, and where they can have mature conversations with you, and they have stability in their life. And I would go slow with this person, and I would have your good friends meet him and see what they felt. This episode is sponsored by Masterclass. I'm obsessed with Masterclass. And if you have a growth mindset and you love to learn and you love to learn new skills, which I'm sure you do, that's why you listen to this show, then Masterclass is for you. I mean, you can learn how to communicate better. You can learn how to cook better. You can learn all these like amazing, important, and sometimes random skills that are just so incredibly cool. I learned how to make the best omelet ever. You would think that would be easy, but it's not. In fact, I know for a fact that chefs kind of are they determine like who's actually a good chef by like how well they can make eggs. And I made eggs that my friends told me were better than any restaurant or 5-star hotel they've ever been to. With Masterclass, you can learn from the best to become your best. And by the way, with plans, they start at $10 a month billed annually. You get unlimited access to over 200 classes taught by the world's best business leaders, writers, chefs, like I said, and more. So right now, our listeners get an additional 15% off any annual membership at masterclass.com/JOL. That's 15% off at masterclass.com/JOL. Masterclass.com/JOL. What are you thinking right now?
I was just thinking, I feel like I got kind of tricked by him because...
No, you didn't. The signs were all there. The signs were all there. I don't want you to spin this into a story. I think the better story is you have a lot of compassion. You have a lot of love to give. And you wanted to give someone a chance. You wanted to give someone a chance. They did a lot of work on themselves. And it'd been 8 years since you last met him. 8 years is a significant amount of time. Significant. And you wanted to give him a chance. And it turned out that like he has more, his problems run deeper than what you could ever know. And he discovered that too. And that was it. And I think that that's the story, and that you stayed too long and you got out faster, but now you know, like when something like that happens, you need to really check in with your friend and be like, is this normal? And they're going to tell you, no, that's not normal. And then you're going to check in with your body. You're first going to check in with your body and saying, this doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel good. This doesn't feel like there's like this, that we're on the same playing field right now. And you are going to act on that. And you're going to tell them, this doesn't feel good. This doesn't feel right. I'm not sure that this is right. And then you're going to see, and then if they continue to do it, you're going to end it promptly. And sometimes it's just like a naivete in the best sort of way of just like not knowing that that's not good behavior in a relationship, especially when you have a lot of loving people in your life, like someone that you're not allowed to actually have like a weekend. I mean, you said with a very mischievous smile on your face, I have freedom. But yet you were willing to be in a relationship with someone who wanted to suck you dry of your freedom and autonomy.
Well, originally it was celebrated and then it was vilified. So it was a very strong 180.
Yes.
Where in the end of the weekend I said, this is
Yeah.
you know?
But it all happened in 3 months. It all happened quickly. And yeah, he probably was very attracted to that in you, by the way. He was, but he couldn't handle it. What I'm most concerned about is the story that you tell yourself. Don't tell yourself that you were tricked. Like, tell yourself that you were compassionate. This was someone who seemed all wrong. You ran into him 8 years later. You know, you, like all the rest of us, are, you know, we tell ourselves a story that it's kismet when it's really just a coincidence. And you decided to give him a chance. And it turned out that, like, your initial instincts were correct.
Right.
And it lasted 3 months-ish. And that's it. And that's the story you can tell yourself. And then you can now say, I'm never going down that road again. I have to have some boundaries with myself.
Yes, you're right.
There are certain people that keep reappearing in my life, but in a different body. That's old father stuff. That is part of my conditioning. I know a little bit more now about where this comes from, but in order for me to make change, I have to understand that I am worthy of the love that I give, that all the distance that I felt from my father, we got to resolve a lot of that before he passed. And what I want more than anything is reciprocated love. And I can only get that from people who are in a place in their life that they are able to actually function in a relationship and give love. And I was proud of myself. I thought I chose a giver. Turns out that whatever I sensed from him in 2017 that made it so that I stopped seeing him was still there. And so I learned. Be rest assured that that behavior is very high risk relationship behavior, and it's not good.
Yeah, definitely not. No.
Yeah.
It was not normal, and it was not healthy.
No, not healthy at all. What do you think on a primal sexual level, physical level, attracts you the most to these three men?
It's like wounded. That's what it is.
Yeah, but what about that woundedness is that makes you sexually attracted to them? Is it a vulnerability thing?
Yes.
Or,
so the sex is very good because that's when they're able to, like, be more vulnerable.
okay, I buy that, but do they all look the same?
No.
Are they okay? Is it are they creative?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you're kind of interested in that creative wounded artist archetype.
Yes.
Yes. When you think about being with someone who's not artistic, who's maybe more in his masculine, who knows how to take control in a good way, not controlling another, but has control over himself and has self-direction, especially at 46, and you're dating someone at that stage of his life, do you find that attractive?
Yes. I think that would be very attractive.
Okay, great.
So how do you find that?
Well, you find that by just, it may take some time, but you have to say no to the others, and you have to be quite intentional, and you have to be willing to receive. I mean, you're such a giver, but do you know how to receive from a man?
I mean, yeah, I think I've done a lot of work on it.
So you have to start being more open and receptive rather than seeing there's a huge gap between you and them, and you're constantly filling in the gap to make sure that they're okay.
Right.
Instead, you want to become more receptive. You want to be with someone who's giving, and not just in the beginning when they're trying to get you in bed.
Right.
When they're trying to land you. Anyone can actually be a giver at that time, but we want to, it's beyond that.
Yeah, definitely.
So no more wounded artists. And I think, but if you can understand what you're attracted to in them, maybe it's a vulnerability. Maybe there's, I don't know, are they emotive?
Yes.
Okay. So the opposite of your dad.
Yeah.
Your dad was not a wounded artist. Am I right? He was much more traditional.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, exactly. He was much more traditional, much more stoic, much more reserved. So now you've got these vulnerable, emotive men. but they also happen to have huge problems. But I think that's what you're attracted to in them.
Yeah. That's it.
So I don't want you to go with someone who's like stoic and isn't with his emotions at all. But you want someone who has some level of emotional mastery, meaning they have some emotional intelligence, but they're not so in their emotions that they don't have control of their life. In other words, emotional stability.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you may have to go for a guy who's not an artist. Now, I know artists who are very emotionally stable. I'm just saying, I want you to be aware of the archetype that you have historically fallen for. And I want you to open up your mind to a different kind of man. And I want you to be aware of the fact that you have a type. And that type has been very unhealthy. And so the boundary you have to do is like, oh, I can't go for that type anymore. I can't be seduced by someone's vulnerability and emotiveness and not also at the same time be very aware of what their capacity is relationally. And someone who's an addict who hasn't gone through the 12-step program and being sober, someone who's in the throes of their addiction has zero control of their life and are the opposite of emotional stability. So you are not going in to rescue anyone, and you have to make sure that you are not letting yourself be seduced by that and then telling yourself, oh, it's going to be okay. Because remember, physical attraction and chemistry can override a whole lot. So if you can understand what's actually turning you on about these men, then you can start to navigate this differently and make better choices for yourself. And it might mean, and I want you to prepare yourself for meeting someone who's going to be one of your exes, but in a different body, right? So in other words, the same kind of guy, and you feeling a pull towards him, and you having to actually have some discipline to be like, I'm not going down that road again. And you can and I would recruit someone from your tribe to hold you accountable. And I would write this all down too, to get really clear about what you want and that you are ready to choose a different kind of man. He's got to have emotional stability to even be able to get into your heart or your body in any way. That's what I would say.
What do you think are the signs of emotional stability in someone?
Well, I mean, someone who's just able to talk through problems with you, talk about life about you, with you. Also, you see how his relationships are with his kids, with his family, with his friends, and his relationship with himself, meaning he's not an addict. He's not drinking himself to oblivion every night. He earns a living. He can take care of himself. He's got some good people in his life. And he shows up for you and that's not just the first month. It's ongoing. And if there's a disagreement, the two of you can talk about it. And he's not going to play manipulative games or pull away or do any of that crap. But it's also the other relationships that are in that person's life. This last one, did he have anyone in his life? He had a kid.
Yeah, he had 2 kids. He had long-standing friendships. Okay. Yeah.
So you just don't know, but also it's how they are with you. I would just be careful of the person who's like, yeah, I had a lot of problem in relationships, but I've really worked through it in therapy. I have nothing but love and compassion for that person, but maybe just be with the person who's like a little bit more, has more stable relationship history, given your history.
Yeah.
And go slow. Thank you for your vulnerability and for being here.
Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you. Take care. Jillian on Love is a QCODE production, executive produced by David Henning and Steve Wilson, produced and edited by Travis Howe, music by Will Tendy.